Hi, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. Well, in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at using the major pentatonic scale to play a blues lead. Now, this is a very slow and melodic blues lead. There's not a lot of fast runs, so this would be something that most anyone can follow along with. And it also focuses quite a bit on phrasing. But the default for most of us when it comes to playing a blues lead is that minor pentatonic scale. But if you listen to guys like B.B. King or T-Bone Walker, oftentimes they would start with the major pentatonic scale and then happen to work in some minor pentatonic scale stuff later on. But they're probably 70% of what they played would be major pentatonic scale. I realize I'm generalizing, but that's how we're going to look at playing this lead. It's just maybe a different approach if you're one of those minor pentatonic scale folks. So we're going to take this lesson and we're going to split it into two parts. In this video, we'll take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half and get the tablature and get the MP3 jam track so that you can practice playing all the lead stuff, you can get that by going to ActiveMelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP260. Alright, so let me just start off and mention this guitar. I know I'm going to have some questions about it, and I'll be honest, I don't know a whole lot about it. I've had this around the house for a while, and I bought this at a guitar center here in Nashville. I saw it up on the used rack, my favorite place to go, and I saw a price tag of $199, and so I got it down and plugged it in, and it plays good and it sounds good and all the parts work and everything. And so I asked the guy, what's the deal with this? You know, why $199? And they said they didn't know how to price it. This is not a traditional, it's made by a custom builder here in Nashville. It's called a Hockin, H-O-C-K-I-N. And he's somewhere in the Nashville area and he makes these things. But I guess because they couldn't find one on eBay or Reverb, they just priced it at $199. They have to move inventory. So keep that in mind if you're looking for a good deal on guitar. Sometimes you can find them if you go to the bigger chains like Sam Ash or Guitar Center and look in the used section. Maybe they don't know how to price something, or maybe they're just trying to get rid of something. So I've found lots of good deals that way. I like the pickups in this guitar. They're probably some cheap pickup. I have no idea what they are, but and they're not real bright, not real potent. They're kind of muffled sounding, but I kind of like that. I thought it worked for this lesson this week with this major pentatonic scale thing. So anyway, that's what the guitar is, the Hockin. All right, so this song is going to be in the key of F, which is a non-conventional key when you're playing blues. Typically on the guitar, we're playing in either E or A, and the reason for that is because you have these open strings. But what I wanted to do this week is I wanted to show you how to play everything in the key of F, because there are no open strings. And I've also included as a bonus for you premium members an extra version of the jam track that's in the key of G. So you can practice playing this in the key of F, which is how we're going to learn it, but you've also got this extra jam track in G, so you can take everything and just transpose it yourself. That's what I want you to do. That's not tabbed out, that part. The key of F is tabbed out, but that way you can kind of practice putting everything into play. So the first lick we're going to learn. Oh, and by the way, it's an 8-bar blues, so it's not a 12-bar, and it's a 1-4-5 chord progression. So your 1 chord is an F, your 4 chord is a B flat, and your 5 chord is a C. F, B flat, C. All right, so the first lick. That's the first lick we're going to learn. Now let me show you two ways to think about this lick and how to get to it. The first way is to think about your F chord. Now remember, you know how I like to tie everything back to chord shapes. And so remember that as you learn this, but you've got your F chord here, and the next one up is right here. That's where we're barring here 4 strings on the 5th fret, and then middle finger goes down on the 6th fret 2nd string, while our ring finger goes down on the 7th fret 4th string. And I just play those 4 strings, top 4 strings. That's another version of an F, another way to play an F. It's still an F chord. But if you look at where your middle finger is, that's the note that I'm emphasizing. So that's one way to think about it. It's just to think about this chord shape and all these notes that we're about to play, how they marry up with that. So if we're playing it in G, it's the same thing, you just shift it up. Okay, so the other way to think about it is this is pattern 4 of the major pentatonic scale. So the major pentatonic scale is exactly the same. There's 5 patterns just like the minor pentatonic scale. And you have access as a premium member to the blues lead course where I go through all 5 patterns. But we're going to be playing in pattern 4 of the major pentatonic scale. Major pentatonic scale, you just take you take your minor pentatonic scale and you move this way 3 frets. So the minor pentatonic scale, pattern 4 for the key of F, would be up here. You can see how bluesy that sounds. But if we go down 1, 2, 3 frets, we're going to be playing, and we play all the same patterns, we're going to be playing in the major pentatonic. Okay, so that's the 2 ways you can think about playing this. All right, now the notes. I'm going to start by sliding up to the 7th fret, 3rd string with my middle finger, and then I come to the 6th fret, 2nd string. And I'm doing a little different vibrato than I normally do. Now, my normal style is like that, where my hand is completely free. Nothing is touching the back of the neck. And you can do it either way, but I was trying to be more B.B. King-ish. And so that's what I'm doing. So you can see my thumb is kind of anchoring down there, holding it down. So those are the first 2 notes. And then I go back to the 7th fret, 3rd string, and then I go. So we're going to come now to 6th fret to the 8th fret on the 2nd string, and then do a full bend, and then this, I guess it's a trill. It's a hammer-on, pull-off, hammer-on. Hammer-on, pull-off, hammer-on. So the hammer-on, pull-off is happening between the 6th fret and the 8th fret on the 2nd string. So start with that. Just do that. And then you hammer on your middle finger to the 7th fret, 3rd string. So all together it goes. And that may seem difficult at first, but trust me, you can do this. It works on an acoustic guitar as well, so you don't have to have sustain from electric. You can do it either way. So that's the first lick. Very BB sounding lick, right? And what's cool about that lick is it works over the 1 chord, it works over the 4 chord. See, when we go to the B flat, you can go do the same thing. So we're going to start that for the 4 chord, we're going to start it the same way. But this time, instead of doing a full bend, and a full bend just means you're going to bend 2 frets higher than where you started. So the full bend we did before, if we're starting on the 8th fret, we're bending to this note, which is on the 10th fret. But the second time through, over the 4 chord, we're only going to do a half bend. So we're only going to go 1 fret higher. So it's going to go. Hear the difference? This is a great exercise in bend control. So if you're kind of getting into bending, maybe it's kind of a new thing, or maybe you've struggled with bending, this lesson is going to be really good for that. Just knowing, having the control to do a full bend and a half bend. You can hear the difference. Okay, so the second time I did a half bend, and then I had my index finger up here on the 6th fret 1st string to play that note. And so I do the half bend, I hit the 6th fret 1st string, and then I go back to that half bend and release it. So it goes like this. And then I resolve that on the 6th fret 2nd string. Alright, so let's back up to the beginning now and play these 2 licks. We have 1 and 2. Okay, and then after that, I went right back to the 1 chord. Now let me show you that. This lick is a huge takeaway lick. I use this all the time, and it's real easy to find from this pattern 4. So you start this on the 7th fret 3rd string, and you do a half bend, not a full bend. And you'll notice it sounds kind of bluesy, and that's because we're spilling over into the minor pentatonic scale for that note. And you can tell, it doesn't sound quite as happy. It sounds more sad, right? So what I do there is I do a half bend, release, and a pull off. So I'm only picking that once. And then I do a hammer on to the 8th fret 4th string, my ring finger. So again, I'm only picking that once out of those 4 notes. And then I played, and for that, I'm on the 6th fret 4th string, and I do a hammer on to the 7th fret 4th string. And then my index finger comes up here to the 6th fret 2nd string. And you let those 2 notes ring out together. Now those 2 notes are the same. If you look at that F chord, that original F chord that I showed you that we're kind of playing out of, that's those two notes out of that F chord. It's also the same two notes out of your F down here, but that would be the 3 and the 1 string. So that's what you're doing. You're playing a lick that's included in that chord. And so that's when I said this is a big takeaway lick. It's just because it's easy to find, and it's right there in that, right off that chord shape, and it's also off that kind of B.B. King little major pentatonic scale, pattern 4. All right. Now from here, isn't that nice? So once we play that F, we're going to take now our ring finger and middle finger and come up to the 8th fret, strings 2 and 4, and then slide them up 2 frets up to the 10th fret. So you have. Now this should look familiar to some of you. This little pattern, what we just did here. Look at that. It's the same thing that you would do here, and I've covered this in other lessons where you've got your major bar chord and you play strings 1 and 3, and then you do this pattern. It's the same thing. You're doing exactly the same thing, just on a different set of strings. So hopefully that correlation kind of sinks in and you realize that you can do that now in 2 places. Gives you some more options. So we have. Now we're going to walk it down 2 frets. We're going to go down 1 fret and 1 more fret. Down to the 8th fret, strings 2 and 4. And that's just the same as going, right? Like we would do on strings 1 and 3. And then to conclude that I went. So that's just a C, B flat, and an F. But I'm playing it up here. Now I'm playing a little triad, so I'm just thinking of your C chord up here if we were to bar on the 8th fret, but I'm only playing the top 3 strings of that. So I'm barring strings 1 and 2 on the 8th fret, middle fingers on the 9th fret, 3rd string. So I'm playing that, and then I'm going to walk that down 2 frets. That goes down to the B flat, and then I go back to the F chord that we started with. So we have kind of nice sounding. And then I come down here and play this. Now let me break that into 2 parts. So this first part is that. Now all I'm doing is I'm thinking about my F chord down here, and I know that I've got this little box here, which is major pentatonic scale pattern 2, and that lives right in that major bar chord. So it's very easy to find. So you can do that in any chord. And it's, in this case, it's a box between the 1st fret and the 3rd fret, strings 1 and 2. And what I did was so what you can do is you can bend here on, in this case it would be the 3rd fret, 1st string. But bending at this point is pretty hard to do, especially if you're trying to do a full bend. So I just slid up to that and played that same note. So I slid up to the 5th fret, 1st string, instead of trying to bend it there. I don't have enough leverage to do that. So that's what I did. And I got that lick from, like, I don't know, Clarence Gatemouth Brown or somebody. A lot of the Louisiana blues guys will use a lot of major pentatonic scale stuff. It kind of works its way into that style of blues a lot. So, sliding up to the 5th fret, 1st string, back down to the 1st fret, 1st string, 3rd fret, 2nd string, and then we go to the 1st fret, 2nd string, and I do a hammer-on back onto the 3rd fret, 2nd string, and then I play the 1st fret, 1st string. So all together that lick goes. Now don't just let that lick come and go. There's a lot to that. So you could use that lick now. Let's say you're playing a slow blues in the key of A, or a fast blues in the key of A. It doesn't matter. You can work that in. Just that's one little word that you just learned. And take those notes and rearrange them. You know, you've got a little box here. You can start to do a lot of stuff. In fact, take the jam track and see what you can do with just that. I mean, that to me is learning. It's when you start to take every one of these little parts and not just take them verbatim, because it's all just interpretation anyway. But you're taking the parts and you're starting to come up with your own phrases from them. Okay, so, and then after that I went. Now this is a lick that I got somewhere recently from somebody. I love it. Let me show you how to play. It's so easy, and then I'll show you how you can think about this lick so you can always go to this. And that lick has kind of a T-Bone Walker style feel. It's kind of got that jazzy. Also B.B. King, I can see him playing that as well. But let me show you how to play it. It's very easy because we're just going to be going back and forth between the 5th fret and the 3rd fret. We're going to start on the 1st string. And I'm going to slide into that 5th fret 1st string twice. And then we're just going to go down to the 3rd fret 1st string, 5th fret 2nd string, 3rd fret 2nd string. This is a little box there. And then we're going to go down to the 5th fret 3rd string. And then watch this. So 5th fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret on the 3rd string. So you can see what we've done is we've gone back and forth between these two frets here. Now when we're doing that, we're playing over the 5 chord. And the 5 chord is a C in this case. Now look at how, when I make the chord with this chord shape, so this is using the A chord shape. If we take our A chord down in 1st position, if we slide it up, we're playing a C chord. But look at these two fingers. They're straddling frets 5 and 3. And so look at that lick we just played. It's also straddling frets, I cannot say that, straddling frets 5 and 3. And the reason I point that out is now, going forward, if you're ever playing, this chord shape, let's say you're playing a D chord, now you can always find that lick as you connect it back to that chord shape. Okay, so that's a lot of information, and this is all obviously very slow and fairly simple to play. So even if you're kind of new to playing, you should be able to follow along with this. If you have trouble with any of it, just slow it down and just keep trying it. Keep trying that one lick over and over again. Let me back up and play through everything one more time slowly, and then I'll see you in part 2 and we'll go over the second half. Alright, so here we go. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't liked Active Melody on Facebook, make sure you follow me on Facebook or like me or whatever you want to do there. And on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and also the alert bell so you can be notified because I put out new lessons like this every week. Alright, so here we go. 1, 2...